Some films, they don't just entertain you, right? They sort of shift something inside.
Yeah, they stick with you.
Exactly. They get ingrained, long after the credits roll. Not just the plot, but how they challenge, like, everything you think you know about yourself, society, reality itself.
Definitely.
And today, we're doing a deep dive into one of those films. A real legend, Fight Club.
Fight Club. More than just a cult classic.
Oh, way more. It's a phenomenon, really. Known for that raw, dark humor, the social commentary that just cuts right through.
Yeah.
And yeah, that twist.
The twist everyone talks about. It really does pull the rug out from under you.
Completely. So our mission today, we're peeling back the layers of this provocative psychological drama.
Directed by David Fincher, of course, and based on Chuck Palahniuk's novel, which is just as intense.
Right. And we're going to try and pull out the most important nuggets, the key insights from the film. We're zeroing in on how this really gritty, twisty story unravels these big themes, identity, masculinity, consumerism.
And mental illness, which is huge.
Absolutely. It's all woven into this narrative.
Masterfully, I'd say.
So what you'll discover is, we're tracing this elaborate story from the narrator's unsettling start, feeling totally lost,
to that explosive, very ambiguous ending.
Exactly. And we'll uncover some surprising things about its psychological depth, but also, why it still feels so relevant.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe even more so now in some ways.
Maybe. So let's get into it. We're not just talking about what happens in Fight Club. We want to explore why it happens, why it matters, and, why it still hits so hard.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Let's start right at the beginning with the foundation. Our unnamed protagonist. Edward Norton plays him just brilliantly, right? This white-collar guy.
Seems successful on the surface.
Totally. But inside, he's got chronic insomnia and this deep, deep sense of disconnection. Let's unpack that. What does disconnection really mean for him and his job? How does it feed into that?
Okay, yeah, the job is absolutely crucial. It's not just some random detail. It's like the prime symptom of his whole problem. He's a recall specialist for a car company.
Sounds boring, maybe.
On the surface, yeah. Maybe even sounds responsible, like safety-focused. But the chilling part, the really dehumanizing core of it, is his actual task. Assessing the monetary value of human life in lawsuits.
Wait, what?
Yeah, versus the cost of doing a recall. He literally calculates whether it's cheaper for the company to let people die or get injured.
Oh my God.
Than it is to fix a known defect. Think about that. His day-to-day is pure economic calculus on human suffering.
That's horrifying.
It is. And it's not just a job, right? It's this system he's part of. It forces him to internalize this completely morally bankrupt way of thinking. It deepens his cynicism, obviously, but it also erodes his own sense of worth, his connection to basic human empathy.
Because he's actively participating in valuing lives,
Right.
like inventory.
Exactly. Turning tragedies into numbers on a spreadsheet. And doing that, well, it inevitably makes him devalue himself, his own feelings. He's cut off from the idea of intrinsic human value.
Which mirrors his own internal isolation.
Perfectly. It's profit over people, lived out daily in his own head.
Wow. Okay, so that's the bleak reality he's stuck in, just adrift in this void. And he finds this really unconventional way to cope, doesn't he? This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, his search for feeling something takes a very strange turn.
He gets addicted to support groups for things he doesn't even have. Cancer, parasites, you name it.
Right. So what's the psychology there? It seems totally bizarre. Why would faking terminal illness actually give him relief?
It's this paradox, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
A twisted but weirdly insightful psychological paradox. He says he finds emotional release by crying with strangers, and that helps him sleep.
The only time he can sleep.
Right. And on the surface, it's deceptive, maybe even kind of messed up. But underneath, it points to this profound universal human need, right? For real connection, for vulnerability.
Which he can't find anywhere else in his life.
Exactly. His corporate life is sterile, rationalized. Emotions are liabilities. Human life is, well, calculated. So these groups become the only place where raw emotion is okay, even encouraged.
He's like starved for it.
Totally starved. For empathy, for catharsis, for just feeling. So he has to fake his way in. He craves that shared suffering, the simple release of tears, even if the suffering isn't technically his.
He's sort of outsourcing his emotions.
That's a great way to put it. Using others' pain as a stand-in for his own numbness. It's a desperate search to feel anything in a world that's made him numb, trying to escape that isolation, even dishonestly.
It shows how deep his despair really is.
Absolutely. Reaching for basic human comfort in the most dishonest way.
And then Just when he's found this weird little routine, this fragile peace with his single-serving friends.
As he calls them, yeah.
In walks Marla Singer. Helena Bonham Carter. Just audacious grit. Totally nails it. And she shatters everything.
The ultimate disruptor.
Because she's another faker, right? Showing up at the same groups for the same messed up reasons. What does her arrival do to his world? Why is she such an immediate threat?
Her arrival is instantly jarring for him. It shatters that fragile equilibrium he'd built. Before Marla, the support groups were his, safe zone. He could perform vulnerability, cry, get his release, and sleep.
But she sees right through it because she's doing the same thing.
Exactly. She's a mirror reflecting his own dishonesty, the artificiality of his whole coping strategy. He can't comfortably fake it anymore because her presence exposes the lie. She forces him to confront how superficial it all is.
And she's just so authentic in her own chaotic way.
Right. Raw, unpredictable, defiant, completely outside the sanitized world he's in. She's not just another character. She's the first real disruption in his carefully managed unreality. Definitely a catalyst, pushing him toward the discomfort that eventually leads to, well, everything else. She complicates his managed chaos, forcing him to look for an even more extreme escape.
So Marla throws his coping mechanism into chaos, which kind of perfectly sets the stage for meeting Tyler Durden, Brad Pitt, on a business trip.
The fateful encounter.
Tyler's introduced as this charismatic soap salesman. But you know immediately there's more going on. Radical ideas, total disdain for consumer culture. What makes Tyler so magnetic? Why does he grab the narrator's attention so instantly?
Well, Tyler's pull comes from being the absolute antithesis of the narrator's life, right?
Yeah.
The narrator's trapped, defined by his IKEA catalog life.
His condo, his stuff.
Exactly. While Tyler embodies this, untamed primal freedom, his disdain for modern consumer culture isn't just talk. He lives it. He's outside the system, rejects materialism, hierarchy, conformity.
He doesn't care about possessions.
He actively destroys them, symbolically. Making soap from human fat liposuction from the rich. Talk about rejecting sanitized capitalism. This just resonates so deeply with the narrator's own buried frustrations, his cynicism, his unspoken longing for something real.
Tyler offers an alternative, a way out.
A seductive, dangerous alternative, yeah. Liberation from the exact system trapping the narrator. He's this force of nature, raw authenticity, defiance, rejecting everything that makes the narrator feel emasculated. Tyler is everything the narrator wishes he could be but feels powerless to express.
Unburdened, unconstrained, alive.
Fiercely, brutally alive.
Okay, so they meet, this spark ignites. Then the narrator gets home and his apartment. Mysteriously exploded, everything gone. He has nowhere to go.
It seems almost too convenient, doesn't it?
Right. It feels like more than just bad luck. It's a major turning point, like the universe is forcing his hand.
Oh, it's absolutely loaded with symbolic weight. More than just a plot device. That explosion is the literal and metaphorical destruction of his entire consumerist identity.
The nest he built from catalogs.
Exactly. His carefully curated self, defined only by his stuff. When it goes up in flames, all those things used to define himself, his identity, his security, poof. Gone.
Stripped bare.
Completely.
Yeah.
It forces him out of that stagnant life, paves the way for Tyler's influence to really take root, for something radical to be born. It's the demolition before the new construction.
Violently clearing the way.
The ultimate rock bottom that makes him ready for a total reset.
So his old life is literally ashes. He calls Tyler. Ends up at Tyler's place, this dilapidated, squatted house, the total opposite of his condo.
Stark contrast, yeah.
And they're having a drink, and Tyler suggests something completely out of left field. I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Yeah, the first fight. Raw, primal, seemingly liberating.
Why hitting, though? Why is that the foundational act, not just talking it out?
That's such an important question.
Yeah.
It's not about gratuitous violence, not really. It's about stripping away the layers, the polite societal masks we all wear.
Getting real.
Getting visceral. For the narrator, who's been living in this disconnected, numb state, it's a forced return to something fundamental. Feeling pain, feeling impact. It's a physical way to break free from that modern life numbness, that feeling of emasculation.
Confronting things directly, physically.
Yeah. They're not fighting out of anger at each other initially. It's a mutual release, a way to feel something real, undeniable. Pain, adrenaline, things missing from his safe, sterile life.
Shocking themselves back to life.
That's it. It's the seed for Fight Club because it offers this direct, unmediated experience of just being. outside the confines of their alienated lives. Authenticity through a punch in the face.
And from that one act, wow, things escalate fast. Other guys start showing up, disillusioned men drawn to this raw release.
They start forming Fight Club, underground, a place for men to let out that primal rage, break free from the corporate grind, the consumer trap.
Okay, let's unpack that. What exactly drew these guys in? Beyond just, wanting to fight, what were they trying to break free from?
This really taps into that core theme, masculinity in crisis. These men, like the narrator, feel emasculated, powerless, not just by their jobs, but by the whole consumer society saying, this is what you should want, this is success.
The IKEA life?
Right. This was late 90s, lots of anxiety about gender roles changing, men feeling softened, losing traditional roles, defined by what they bought, not by strength or agency, trapped in acquiring stuff that didn't fulfill them.
Losing touch with something authentic.
Exactly. Fight Club gives them an outlet. Violent, yes, but essential to them. A space to reclaim identity, agency, raw physicality, outside societal norms, reacting against conformity, emotional suppression.
Longing for something more real than buying furniture?
They want to feel alive again, truly alive, even if it's through pain and fighting. A return to something primal, they feel modernity stripped away.
And this Fight Club, it's not just chaos. It has rules, strict rules, iconic rules, almost like a creed.
Absolutely. The rules are central. They define the whole subversive nature of it. Let's list them. First rule of Fight Club: you do not talk about Fight Club.
The big one?
Second rule of Fight Club: you do not talk about Fight Club. Emphasized.
Got it.
Third rule: if someone says stop or goes limp, taps out, the fight is over.
Okay, some boundary there.
Some semblance, yeah. Fourth rule: only two guys to a fight.
One-on-one.
Fifth rule: one fight at a time, fellas.
Keeps it focused.
Sixth rule: no shirts, no shoes.
Stripping down. Symbolic.
Very symbolic. Shedding material identity. Back to basics. Seventh rule: fights will go on as long as they have to.
Endurance.
And finally, eighth rule: if this is your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight.
Initiation. No observers.
Exactly. Full commitment. What's fascinating is how these rules create this new inverted social order, a counterculture. The secrecy of the first two rules is paramount.
Creates this underground community.
Totally. Cult-like loyalty, shared transgression, defines them against the outside world. It's a bubble, a sanctuary from the pressures that they're escaping.
And the no shirts, no shoes reinforces shedding that consumer skin.
Right. And the must-fight rule. It's a potent initiation. Forces confrontation with fear, pain, aggression immediately. These aren't about fairness in the usual sense. They're about discipline, commitment, creating this sacred, brutal space for violent catharsis.
A new church with violent commandments.
Pretty much. Liberation through controlled chaos. A total counter-narrative.
So Fight Club starts as this personal thing, right? Getting catharsis, finding yourself through fighting. But then Tyler, he starts to twist the mission.
Yeah, as it grows, his vision changes.
It goes from personal liberation to something more anarchic, more organized, definitely more destructive. He creates Project Mayhem.
The secretive, militarized offshoot.
This is where it gets really compelling, maybe kind of terrifying. How does his vision shift? What does this escalation mean?
It raises that big question about unchecked ideology, right?
Okay.
How seductive radical change can be. Project Mayhem isn't just Fight Club bigger, it's a total shift in purpose.
From punching yourself free to
organized, widespread, anti-corporate vandalism and terrorism. Individual catharsis becomes this collective, militaristic movement aimed at tearing down society's foundations.
personal rebellion becomes societal revolution.
Exactly. Though a very misguided nihilistic one, it speaks right to that theme of freedom through destruction. The idea that for real rebirth, the old order has to completely collapse.
Tyler's not about self-improvement anymore.
Not at all. It's about total upheaval, a blank slate no matter the cost. It's where personal change becomes this destructive crusade, spiraling out of control.
The difference between a support group and a terrorist cell.
That's a chillingly accurate way to put it.
And as Project Mayhem ramps up with these extreme actions, the narrator starts feeling uneasy.
Yeah, you see his discomfort growing.
Loss of control, the radicalization, the sheer violence. But when he questions Tyler,
Tyler just dismisses him, refuses to explain anything, leaves him baffled.
and that friction, that dissonance in the narrator, it feels important, like a clue.
It's incredibly critical, especially looking back. It's the friction between his emerging consciousness, the part questioning the chaos, the destruction, and the dominant destructive force of Tyler.
He's pushing back against himself without knowing it.
Exactly. His unease isn't just plot, it's the internal conflict brewing. His genuine self is starting to surface, trying to reclaim control from the persona he unknowingly created.
It foreshadows the internal battle.
Definitely. The first real crack in that constructed reality.
And Project Mayhem's actions get bolder. Not just fights. Blowing up corporate art, defacing public property. These aren't random targets, are they?
No, not at all. They're meticulously chosen. Direct, symbolic attacks on the symbols of consumerism and the established order they hate.
So blowing up art isn't just vandalism.
It's an assault on commodified culture, on art dictated by corporations, on the values of the elite, a statement against beauty being owned.
And defacing property.
It's literally scratching out the system's veneer,
Mm-hmm.
challenging authority, ownership. They embody that radical idea. Rebirth only comes after complete collapse.
Believing the structures are so corrupt, only total destruction works.
Right. Performing symbolic destruction. Tearing down the old, oppressive structures, literal and metaphorical, hoping something new, something human, emerges from the rubble. Forcing a societal reset.
A grand, destructive gesture to wipe the slate clean.
Rooted in this almost revolutionary anger against modern life's perceived oppressors.
And right in the middle of all this anarchy, there's this really personal, messy layer added. Tyler starts sleeping with Marla,
Yeah, the woman who disrupted the narrator's world in the first place.
creating this super complicated love triangle. And the narrator, he's jealous, confused by his feelings for her, and maybe for Tyler, too.
It definitely muddies the waters for him and for us watching through his eyes. It's not just a simple romance subplot. It adds this deep psychological complexity.
His jealousy isn't just about Marla.
It's tangled up with his relationship with Tyler, his own repressed desires, his struggle to even understand his fragmented feelings. It blurs the lines of affection, control, highlighting the subconscious link between the three of them, even though he's oblivious.
Marla becomes this focal point for his buried feelings.
Yeah, a reminder of the authenticity and chaos he wants and fears. Her presence just intensifies the internal war that's about to blow up inside him, pushes his fractured mind closer to the edge.
It's brilliant how it weaves the personal into the anarchic plot.
Absolutely. Testament to the writing.
So Project Mayhem is raging, and the narrator's grip on reality just starts slipping badly.
The cracks really start showing.
And you see these subtle, unnerving signs. People confusing him for Tyler. Project Mayhem members acting like he's their leader when he doesn't remember giving orders.
Right, these little inconsistencies start piling up.
What's that doing to his sense of sanity, and how is Fincher setting us up?
Fincher is masterful here, laying out these breadcrumbs, these moments, the confusion, the weird looks, the gaps in his memory. They aren't just odd. They're tangible signs of his fractured psyche.
The cracks appearing in his reality.
Loud and clear signals that something fundamental about his identity, his perception, is deeply wrong. He's showing signs of depersonalization, derealization, classic symptoms of a mind under extreme stress.
And the film makes us feel it, too.
Totally. The unreliable narration, the jump cuts, those subliminal flashes of Tyler, they plunge us into his fragmented state. We feel his sanity eroding alongside him,
These external confusions just amplify the internal chaos.
pushing him closer and closer to finding out the truth, making the reveal feel earned, almost inevitable when it comes.
And then, boom, the moment that flips the entire movie on its head. The twist.
The big one.
He discovers he and Tyler Durden, they're the same person. Tyler is a manifestation, a dissociated personality born from his frustration, his mental collapse.
And connecting this to the bigger picture.
Mm.
Wow. This reveal just fundamentally redefines everything. It stops being just social commentary and becomes this deep, brilliant dive into split identity and mental illness.
Tyler isn't real, not a separate person.
No. He's the embodiment of suppressed rage and desire. The physical manifestation of everything the narrator couldn't acknowledge in himself. The raw, instinctual id.
The primal part he repressed.
Exactly. Born from the emptiness, the insomnia, the emasculation, a coping mechanism gone terrifyingly rogue, a primal scream made flesh.
And suddenly everything confusing makes chilling sense.
Snaps right into focus.
Missing time.
Explained. That was Tyler taking over.
Marla's comments about his personality changing.
Because it literally was.
The loyalty of Project Mayhem. They were loyal to him in his Tyler state.
Precisely. It's the ultimate aha moment. Explains the gaps, the weird allegiance, Marla's confusion. It's this powerful, chilling look at how internal conflict, severe psychological distress,
They
disassociation,
create a whole separate reality.
an outward manifestation that's totally different from objective reality. It forces you, the viewer, just like the narrator, to reevaluate everything you've seen, every interaction.
Revealing the real war wasn't external.
It was the intense, desperate struggle inside the narrator's own mind. Its brilliant narrative construction, hiding it in plain sight while laying the groundwork all along, rewards rewatching like crazy.
Okay, so the truth bomb drops, his reality is shattered, and then he finds out Tyler's final plan, the grand finale,
The ultimate destructive scheme.
blowing up buildings, housing credit card company records to erase debt.
A symbolic erasure of capitalist control, yeah.
Yeah.
A massive nihilistic gesture.
Is this it? The ultimate expression of freedom through destruction that Tyler was preaching?
In Tyler's radical, twisted logic, absolutely. It's nihilistic, sure, but symbolically potent. A desperate attempt to literally tear down the economic structures he believes enslave everyone.
Wipe the slate clean financially.
Eradicate the debt, tying people to the system. Collapse the financial world so a new world, free from those chains, can supposedly rise from the ashes. It's the climax of his anti-consumerist crusade.
Not just terrorism, but societal liberation in his mind.
Exactly. A forced reset. Believing true rebirth, true freedom, only comes after total, utter collapse, the most extreme rejection of modern society imaginable.
And the narrator realizes, to stop this, he has to confront Tyler. Not in a fistfight.
But inside his own head.
This dramatic internal showdown, a mental battle for control, his body, his identity, and then, that moment. To kill Tyler, he shoots himself in the mouth.
Wow. Yeah, that act is maybe the most profoundly symbolic moment in the whole film. An act of self-reclamation.
It's not literal suicide, right?
No, it's about annihilating the dissociated persona, destroying Tyler to regain soul, conscious control. He's literally destroying the part of himself manifested as Tyler that was driving the chaos.
A radical act of self-affirmation.
Asserting his singular identity over the dominant, dangerous alter ego. It's the definitive turning point in that internal war. Choosing sanity, choosing self over Tyler's destructive path.
Fighting his own mind and winning back control.
Through extreme self-mutilation, yeah. Asserting I over Tyler's we. A psychological purge. Severing the tie.
He survives the gunshot, Tyler vanishes, seems defeated, and Marla shows up. Brought there somehow.
By Project Mayhem, maybe?
Yeah.
Or some lingering impulse from the narrator himself, it's unclear.
She rushes to his side, and he says it. That line.
You met me at a very strange time in my life.
So loaded, right?
Incredibly. It signals this newfound acceptance. His chaotic past, his messy present. A moment of profound, if unsettling, self-awareness.
Not an apology, but an acknowledgement.
Of the fragmented journey he just went through, the dissociated state he was in when they met. It's the first time he's truly acknowledging who he is, separate from Tyler.
And maybe the start of something real with Marla.
A tentative step, yeah. Connection built on raw, weird truth. His first step towards owning his own story.
And the ending. One of the most haunting, ambiguous final scenes ever. Him and Marla holding hands.
Looking out as the buildings explode. Just like Tyler planned.
All set to Where Is My Mind by the Pixies. Perfect song choice.
Unbelievably perfect.
So what does it mean? Did he win? Is it a tragedy? A terrifying new beginning?
And that's the ambiguity that gives the film its lasting power, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why we still debate it. Tyler, the persona, is gone.
But his plan succeeds.
Exactly. The buildings explode. The debt is erased, symbolically. The capitalist collapse Tyler wanted happens. So did the narrator really win? Or did he just become the vessel for Tyler's ideology to be realized?
Did he inherit the chaos he tried to stop?
It suggests that even if you win your internal battles, the external consequences can still play out. It forces you to grapple with change, rebellion, freedom. Is a new start possible from total destruction? Or just new chaos?
And the song just hangs there.
Amplifying that disorientation, uncertainty. Where is his mind? Where is society going? It captures the narrator's unresolved state, the uncertain future. A personal victory for him, maybe, but an unsettling victory for Tyler's destructive goals. Leaves you wondering, what now?
Wow. Okay, what a ride through that narrative. Let's pull back now and talk about the bigger picture. The enduring messages, the core themes Fight Club leaves us with, why does it still hit so hard?
It's just so dense with these complex, often uncomfortable themes that really stick with you.
Like the first big one, consumerism versus individuality.
Oh yeah, a relentless critique. How modern society defines us by what we own, not who we are. The narrator's IKEA-filled apartment is the perfect symbol of possessions as a prison.
Trapped in wanting more and more stuff.
And losing your actual identity in the process, becoming mass-produced. The film argues you can't be an individual if you're just a product of your purchases. Your stuff ends up owning you.
Still rings true.
Definitely. Then there's the intertwined theme, masculinity in crisis.
which we touched on with why men joined Fight Club.
Right. The film explores how these men feel emasculated, powerless by corporate life, by changing expectations, by consumerism, lost traditional roles, feeling adrift.
Defined by their jobs and possessions.
And Fight Club becomes this violent, but for them, essential outlet, reclaiming identity, authenticity, primal power through fighting and rebellion. It's a commentary on that perceived emasculation in modern life, the desperate search for something real, even if it's dark.
A yearning for something more fundamental.
A primal masculinity they feel is lost.
And then central to the twist, split identity and mental illness.
Hugely important. Tyler isn't just a cool character. He's a terrifying coping mechanism, the embodiment of suppressed rage and desire.
Everything the narrator couldn't express.
Anger, frustration, chaos, freedom. The film dives deep into disassociation, how internal battles can manifest as a whole separate personality. It's an extreme portrayal, obviously, but it reflects the internal struggles we all face, right?
Yeah.
Between our conscious selves, societal rules, and subconscious desires.
The need to confront our dark side, not repress it till it explodes.
Exactly. Integration requires facing it. And finally, that really provocative theme, freedom through destruction.
Tyler's whole philosophy.
His radical anarchism suggests this chilling idea. True rebirth, real freedom, requires complete collapse first, tearing down the system violently as the only path.
Is it viable? Or just a dangerous illusion?
That's the question it forces you to ask. Is destruction the only way to build something new? Or does it just breed more chaos? A stark, unsettling question about revolution and change.
So with all these deep, provocative themes, what's Fight Club's place now? Its legacy? It wasn't universally loved at first, right?
Not at all. Its journey is fascinating. It was initially controversial and misunderstood, definitely. Got criticized for the violence, and people missed the critique, thinking it endorsed the violence or anarchy.
But then it found its audience.
Big time. Home video, word of mouth.
Yep.
Became a true cult classic. Now it's celebrated for that dark tone, the sharp social commentary, which feels almost prescient now, and
Yeah.
the twist.
Changed how people watch movies, in a way.
It really did. It's widely considered one of the most influential films of the late 20th century because it challenged norms, sparked debate, explored uncomfortable truths about society and ourselves.
Its legacy isn't just cool scenes or quotes.
No, it's power to provoke thought, force you to look inward, hold up that mirror to modern disillusionment. It makes top film lists constantly, studied, discussed, because it's not just about fighting.
Like the summary says.
It's about the internal war between who we are and who we wish we could be, and what happens when that war explodes into the world around us. It gets under your skin, stays there. More than just entertainment. Hashtag tag tag outro.
Wow. What an incredible, unsettling but really illuminating journey through Fight Club today.
It's a lot to unpack.
Definitely.
Right.
From that initial disconnection, the consumerist void, through the shock of Tyler's identity, to that ambiguous, explosive ending, we've really tried to explore the narrative and those deep themes.
Hopefully giving a good sense of its complexity.
And understanding films like this, it's not just film appreciation, is it? It gives you this lens on bigger societal issues, consumerism, identity, the psyche.
Holds that mirror up to our own lives sometimes. Asks us to look closer at what shapes us.
Right. So as you go about your day, maybe dealing with your own modern life stuff, here's a final thought to chew on. How much of your own identity is shaped by the world around you? By your job, your stuff, expectations, the drive for comfort? And what part of you might be a Tyler Durden?
Ooh.
You know, that suppressed impulse, that hidden desire, that raw anger or need for freedom waiting to come out when you feel disconnected or overwhelmed or just fed up.
What are the unacknowledged parts of ourselves?
Exactly. What's waiting for an outlet, and what might happen if it found one? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep digging, keep questioning, and keep exploring the fascinating complexities both out there and maybe in here too.